Amir.
Hello there, how are you going?
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to do this interview with me. I know you've just arrived back from the States today, so thanks for doing that.
It's a pleasure.
I've been following what you've been doing out there in the world for the last 1.5 years through Facebook and some of your newsletters and even some of your online content. And I'm truly inspired by the mission that you're on. You're definitely, at least from what I've seen, you're definitely dedicated to helping people really embody transformation and live their authentic truth. And my company, Be Who You Want to Be, has a very similar mission actually, and that's to empower and inspire children to live their authentic truth and be inspired visionaries. And I believe your wisdom and intuitive insights could be of great value to them. So with that being said, I would love to actually ask you a few questions.
Definitely. Go ahead.
So my first question, just to kind of give everyone a little bit of an idea of who you are, can you share a little bit about your background and how you were able to really uncover the mission that you're on at the moment?
Well, I've had an interesting upbringing. I've had my mother's been a very wise person in my life, and she's always supported me to follow my heart, follow my intuition, and so from a very young age, I was always, pondering big questions about why we're here, and what's the purpose of life, and the meaning of life, and who am I really, and all that kind of stuff. So I started probably from the age of 12 and 13 asking those kind of questions, and ironically enough, I found myself in the personal development industry, and I was promoting some big speakers that I grew to love and respect, and and from there I had by the age of 22, I was on the verge of bankruptcy. So I learned a lot about failures, and then by the time I was 26, I learned a lot about success, and I had a successful promotion company where I would promote speakers. And I just got to a point where I still felt as though there was something missing. All the information that we used to promote and sell and market, there was still something that I felt was missing. And I didn't know what it was back then, but I kind of sold my company and went on a real soul search and did nothing for the next 12 months except just, I wanted to realize everything that I was reading about or learning about within myself. And I realized what was missing. And the final piece of the puzzle that was missing was myself. I was missing. It's fine to know all this stuff and know all these spiritual teachings and a lot of different personal development stuff, but without me, none of that really applies. And so I kind of really delved deeper into myself and learning more about who I really am, and that's how I found myself to be speaking. Because once I got to a place where when I guess started to experience the magic and find the real joy of life, your natural essence is just to share it. It's like I just started to share it. I started to promote myself and start speaking and writing and coaching and that's what I'm doing today.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing that.
That's all right.
Now, when I was doing a little bit of my research into you and some of the things that you do, I read that you are a natural intuitive.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that means?
Well, I do everything by my intuition first. So whenever it's making choices in life, whenever it is reflecting back on life, I rely on my intuition more than anything else in my life. So I like to call it living intuitively. And when I get up on stage, I speak intuitively. When I write intuitively. When I coach intuitively. So right now I'm speaking to you intuitively. And what that means is, when you ask me a question, I check in with about how I feel, and then I begin to describe the feeling of what I'm saying, rather than going to my head and going and checking in with what I know. So in other words, I'm not using knowledge, what I know. I'm using wisdom, which is which is what is really the power. Power, they say knowledge is power, but it's not. It's wisdom. Wisdom is power. And wisdom is when you've had a direct experience, and I'm pointing at my heart here, when you've had a direct experience of what you know. And once you've had a direct experience of what you know, it becomes part of who you are. So, but to go back to your question, it's speaking not from the known. It's not living from the known. It's not living from what's proven. It's living from the unknown. Mm-hmm. And that really is frightening for some people, because the unknown, it leaves people with, I want to be known. I want to know. I don't want to be in the unknown. But the funny thing is, infinite possibilities is always from the unknown. Right. Because what's infinite is all things. When you're saying something's infinite, when you're saying that you have full potential or infinite possibilities, that means there's the possibilities of succeeding, and then there's a possibility of failing. Mm-hmm. So you go forward with the possibilities of all things. So you're not just locked in with the possibility, I have to succeed, I'm not going to fail. Well, potentially you could fail. I'm not saying you're going out to fail, but it's okay to fail. And that's why I think one of the biggest reasons that people are held back in life, it's because it's not that they're afraid of failing, it's that they haven't found something that's worth failing for. Right. And when I begin to feel what I wanted to share with people, it was worth me being rejected for. It was worth me failing for. So the biggest thing is for people to find something that's bigger than them. And when I say it's bigger than them, it could be coming from, let's call it the big them, the bigger part of them. Right. And that's what living intuitively means. Or it's about coming from the big part of me. Yeah, it's not coming from my skill sets or my knowledge. It's coming from the unknown. And but there's a lot of, if you practice that, people find certainty in the uncertain. That's the way I like to describe it. You find a sense of certainty in the uncertain. But most people find certainty in the certain things, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yes. That's a great explanation of, I guess, what a natural intuitive is. I mean, a lot of people have challenges with that concept and understanding and trying to access that and connect to that, which actually kind of leads me into my next question. So the explanation you gave of intuition is amazing. So how then are you able to actually connect into that? You may have explained it to a certain degree, but how are you able to really connect into your intuition and kind of silence that knowing, if that makes sense?
It does make sense, and it's a good question, because when we use the word intuition, intuition is very closely linked to the word flow. Mm-hmm. A lot of people know what it means being in the flow, and I'm a big sporting buff, so people in sports, they know the zone. So it's the same thing. You're saying you're in the flow in your zone. So first of all, let's quickly identify what the flow and the zone is. The flow and the zone is when someone is beginning to express through themselves what they feel instinctively, what they feel intuitively, what they feel here in the now. Mm-hmm. So when the moment you begin to speak or act or paint or sing or whatever it is that you do that's creative, the moment you begin to come from express the feeling, that's what creates someone being in the flow. Now, furthermore to that, when I'm on stage and I ask this question, it doesn't matter where in the world I am, I always get the same answer. And the question I ask is, where do people experience the flow? Where do people experience the zone? And everyone always says, well, it's here in the moment. Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing about intuition or the flow or the zone, is that what you're actually saying is you are in the moment. And the first thing I can teach or tell people or share with people about the intuition is that the intuition is not something you find. Your intuition is something that finds you.
Right.
So because this is the thing, Greg. When we go to look for intuition, we look for intuition up here, but that's not where intuition is. Intuition comes to you in your hearts.
Mm-hmm.
Over here is your intellectual part, which is useful for other purposes. It's our tool in life, but that's not where the intuition comes from. Mm-hmm. And like I said to you, I make choices intuitively, and then I use the tools here to unfold those choices that I've made intuitively. So the first thing is that intuition is something that finds you. They always say that love is something that finds you. You don't find love. Love is something that finds you. Well, intuition is the essence of love. Intuition comes from love. Mm-hmm. So the only thing that you could do is be more present, be more here, like be in the now. Mm-hmm. When you're experiencing yourself in the now, you will become more aware of your intuitive feelings. Right. So to me, that's, it's a very difficult question to answer when you say, well, how can I find my intuition, or how can I use my intuition? Well, you got to be more here in the now. When you're experiencing your life, and that's an art, and that's a practice that people need to practice to continuously bring themselves here. And it's very easy to bring yourself here. It's just place your attention on your breath. It doesn't have to be through a meditation every day. I wasn't one that meditated. I would just bring my attention here. So wherever your awareness is, if your awareness or your attention is the past or future, that means you're not aware of what's going on right now. And even though you may be feeling something intuitively, there's too much noise going in your head for you to actually hear what your intuition's saying. Yeah. So bring your attention to your breath. Bring your attention to your feet. Like right now, if I bring my attention to my feet, I kind of feel these sensations in my feet. Right now, I'm present because I brought my attention to my feet. How do I know I'm present? Because if I bring my attention to my feet, my attention is not in the past or future. Mm-hmm. It's right now. It's a grounded feeling. Yeah. So it's about practicing not to learn how to use your intuition. It's about practicing being present. And when you're being present, you naturally feel. It's a natural essence. You naturally start to feel more. And when I say feel more, you're not feeling emotions, which is more reactions to the thinking you're doing. A feeling or an intuitive feeling is not a reaction to the thinking you're doing. It's not caused from cause and effect. It's something that arises, and then you go, and you just realize that you feel this. Right. And you don't know why you feel this. If I can just share a quick story if I've got time.
Sure.
I was I'm from Bondi Beach in Sydney, and I go to my favorite coffee shop here, and I was sitting there one day having coffee, and I heard these two ladies behind me having a conversation, and I kind of started eavesdropping because they had used the word intuition, so that interests me. So I started eavesdropping on what they're saying, and this one lady was telling her what seemed to be her best friend about this huge decision that she needed to make. And her best friend was like playing devil's advocate, going, are you sure you want to do this? This is the ramifications of your decisions is huge. And she just goes, what? I just feel my intuition is telling me to do this, and I just know I got to do it. And you know what her friend said? Her friend says, well, how do you know? How do you know that? And she goes, I don't know, but I just know. Right. And how many times have we said in our life, I don't know, but I just know. Or I know this is going to happen, but I don't know why. I just know. So what you're actually saying is I know, but I don't know, but I just know. You're saying I don't know any logical reasons of why this is happening. There's no intellectual explanation of why this is happening, but I just know because the intuition speaks to you in an expression or in a feeling of a knowing. So you're feeling the knowing that you should do this. You're feeling the knowing that this is going to happen, but you have no logical reason. You don't know any logical reason. You don't know how it's going to happen. You don't know why it's going to happen. You just know it's going to happen. And that's a definite an experience of the intuition there. And that's why I always say that most people, the difficulty is not hearing your intuition or listening to your intuition. The difficulty is in following your intuition. Mm-hmm. And the reason why it's so difficult to follow your intuition is because people need logical reasons or they need to see how it's going to happen before they can follow it. So it takes what I like to call a great warrior to be able to follow your intuitive feeling because you're following your intuitive feeling, not because it's going to get me to this point, it's going to get me to that point, it's going to make me meet this person. It's because I'm following my intuitive feeling. Right. So you got to find that warrior within to be able to follow it.
No, I totally agree with you because I've had many moments in my life where I've said to family, I've said to friends, I just know this is going to happen. I know this is the right choice. And they're like, how do you know? I'm like, I
Yeah.
just have certainty of it. I can't explain it. I just know.
Yeah.
And it can be quite difficult for other people who, like you said, have difficulty accessing that part of themselves or being present with that part of themselves to really kind
Yeah.
of have faith in that. Because
That's,
intuition, I find, at least from my experience, is a faith-based experience. It doesn't have facts or figures attached to it usually.
that's right.
And even though I'm silently skeptical at the same time, I'm very faith-based in that respect. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. Your explanation is very pertinent.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So my next question, some of the next questions kind of follow into what you've been explaining anyway. So it'll maybe give some extra context to what you were
Yeah.
saying. So my next question is, what importance does intuition have when it comes to empowering ourselves or being a leader within our lives?
I think it has a lot of importance. Intuition is what I have used to empower myself, and I think um, I think a good leader is a leader who empowers others.
Mm-hmm.
So these two words that you've used are very closely linked: empowerment and leadership. But personally, when I've been on this path, I had, like I said, I had a very insightful mother who'd give me little insights, and if you like, she would place the seed in my mind, and then I would have to go and what I like to call is ponder on it. And pondering is very different to thinking. Pondering it's kind of like thinking in the flow.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the thought is taking care of itself. Like you're noticing that you're having these thoughts, and it's very difficult to describe. But you're in this zone and having these thoughts. So I had this question, and then I would ponder on the answer, and that is me thinking intuitively.
Right.
And that's what pondering is. And I would ask these questions and use my intuition to empower myself. And how I would empower myself is by getting myself to realize who I am. And the more I realized who I was, the less I needed to change who I am. And so that naturally brought out the leadership for me, and that's a big, strong suit for me is leadership. And I naturally found myself leading others when I would be empowering others, and that's what a good leader, as I mentioned, does. Is you're leading to empower others, and when you're empowering others, then that's good leadership. So that's pretty much it. So I think without me using my intuition to empower myself, then I'm using my intellect by itself,
Right.
and intellect by myself, but on its own. It's only giving me a version of the answer that I'm looking for. Right. So I'm having moments of empowerment, but it's not lasting because I'm using my realizations over here are only versions of the answer. Right. But when you realize the answer, you have a direct experience of it. I always say there's a big difference between knowing the truth and being the truth. Mm-hmm. And the big difference is that the person who is being what they know, then they can live it. The person who knows the answer or understands the answer is understanding a version of the answer, and therefore they can't live what they know. They know it, but they don't have the capacity or the will or the courage to be able to follow what the answer is.
Right. Wow. Cool. Thank you.